Oh, and we have a dog already. I have a dog. Hello, dog. Come here. Come here. You gotta turn around. You gotta turn around. Over here. Over here. And sit. Oh, what? You were sitting, but then you stopped sitting. You was almost sitting. Sit. All right. Sit. That one? No. You're just excited now? I see how it is. I see how it is. So it goes. Oh, wow, nothing really catches the light, huh? What is it? Where are you going? Where are you going now? Huh? My goodness. Hello. Let's see here. Those going. There we go. Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing? I haven't had just like a talk live in a while, so I figured I'd hop on. Hello. Got my new Ruger. This thing's fun. Very fun to play with. Gotta figure out the gloves though. Yeah, I'm familiar with Kingdom Come. Oh, any new weapons? Oh, I mean, there's the Ruger. That's new. It's a lot smaller than my old messer. Yeah, so very different lengths. This is the one I've used for a while. This is the new acquisition. Let's see. What's the reason for the little protrusion? Yeah, so that is part of the hand protection. It's not a, you don't have a lot of hand protection with this thing, but you do have like the bare minimum as far as that front piece goes. And then this is actually quite useful. So using this, I can actually set this thing up. I have room. We redecorated, so I've actually cleared out some space over here. So I actually have room enough to use this thing inside, at least a little bit. Not the most room. I should probably actually switch it out for a smaller sword. And then I can show what it's for. So that'd be good. We'll just switch this out for something stubbier. What do we have? What's stubby? I guess my messer is stubby, come to think of it. Gotta loosen up more though. There we go. Almost. There. Okay. So, hello. I hope everyone's doing well. Okay. Just gotta keep adjusting here. Because I really need to be able to actually demonstrate why, or like how you would use the Ruger, or I mean the nagel, right? Get that situated. Okay. Got this thing, that thing, Ruger, nagel. All right, so obviously you've got blade. We don't have a whole lot of hand protection. We can make a cover using that little notch there, of course. We can get that. So I can get to here to do it, but I can also turn further and get that nagel. Honestly, with this one too, it's liable to slip if I come in. I can catch this way, but if I come in at an angle, I might actually skip it. But essentially, when you're using a messer, you're often turning the nagel out instead of the guard or the cross. So I would actually somewhat counterintuitively turn my sword around. So the cutting edge would be this face. It might have a sharpened section on the back edge, but most of this is going to most likely be blunt. So you'd have edge there, and then like edge there. So counterintuitively, you actually turn the sword around so that the false edge there is facing forward, and you make the cover with the nagel instead of the cross like you would with like like with a sword like this, where I might make the cross like that. Instead, I would turn it around and make the cover with that. The edge is, I've got the edge turned, so it's slipping off here because it's not turned. But if they're cutting this way at you, right, you could make the cover the nagel there, edge, nagel, put at the point, so on, so forth. I guess I can turn it in the, try to turn it in the thing to get the angle different. Now, let's see. Just for my own sake, when I have inevitably more questions, let's turn it this way. Hello. Yeah. The flowers are made. The flower crown was made for me by a clubmate. I'm very appreciative of it. It was started as a joke. I just was like, if you make me a flower crown, I'll wear it. I don't think they thought I was serious. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, now that we actually have it turned like it's cutting in, so I could go like this and make the catch there. That kind of stuff. It's fun. Could you use it to push the crossguard away and push their own blade against them? Not quite sure what you mean. Sword fighting with the overcoat, that thing is way too warm to fight in. I guess in this weather I might be able to. Fortunately, this is not enough traction on the ground for me to actually do anything with it. It'd be fun to travel to Europe for stuff, but it's a lot of money. Let's see. Oh boy, this is a lot of questions. What did Oakshot get wrong? I don't really. I don't have any particular opinions on anything that he got wrong. It's a categorization system for the most part. I don't have any particular. I think language has shifted. I guess the one thing that I'm a little contentious on that I don't think is a wrong call by his part, like at all. I just think that language has sort of progressed beyond. Is for him, he categorized great swords as being a very specific kind of sword. Um, but thanks to video games and media surrounding video games, greatsword has become a useful term to just describe two-handed swords, like dedicated two-handed swords. Not like they're long swords, hand and a half or anything like that. But it's definitely come to define, big two-handed swords, and I think it's fair now to apply it to things that weren't great swords in his categorical system. I guess that's the main thing I've got now is, I think some of his categories have depreciated a little bit just because of how language has continued to evolve. If there was one sword myth that could be true, what would I pick? Oh. Uh, hmm. Sword myth that could be true. An interesting one. I don't know. I have to think on that. I just noticed like a notch in a. I'm like, oh, gonna have to find all that. Yeah, you could try some like online classes. If you've got enough people interested, you could pursue some sort of like group thing. Obviously, without if you can find some people with prior martial arts experience and stuff, that'd probably be safer. You need people. Ideally, you should try to get people who have some experience, but you can kind of work it on your own with people who don't have any. But you are going to have to tread carefully. I mean, katanas are fine. I have a couple. They're behind you all. They're over there. I don't have quick access to them, but I like them well enough. Hello. The Gunther. No experience with the Gunther. Is Princess Bride fighting real? Not really, but it's fun. I have a little bit of interest in Bronze and Iron Age stuff. More Bronze than Iron. I don't. I guess I don't really have that much interest in Iron actually. But yeah, Bronze Age. Yeah, Bronze swords are really pretty. What would I recommend for someone to start with? I mean, my recommendation is to start with whatever most interests you. Right? Don't try to pick something to start with because it's because of anything I would recommend. Um, ultimately you need to pick something that interests you the most because if it interests you, you're more likely to do it. I don't. You shouldn't suffer through trying to learn one thing because that's what you thought you were supposed to start with, and then you know not end up losing interest because you don't actually care about it. Uh, That said, the other notion would be if there is something that's accessible near you. If you've got a club that has a specialty in longsword or specialty in rapier or something like that, it's probably easier to like on board with whatever your club does the most of. But if your club's decently diverse or relatively generalized, then go with whatever you want. Yes, I've played. I've streamed Hellish Court on the channel. I don't play it enough to be particularly good at it, though. Is the problem? The shield? What shield? I don't have a shield that guy. Yeah, what shield are you looking at? Oh, yeah. Is that like a translation thing? They mean the armor's wearable. Hello. I also played half sword. Wait, have I? Wait, did I? Yes. Yes. I did. I had to think of it. Yes, I've played half sword. That is on the stream as well. Uh, let's see. Recommended a newbie interested in solo training to replicating my sword rate and as a possibility to train fuel. Was it right? So I don't think it's very good for fueling per se, because if it's a feeling is all about telling whether they're hard or soft or whatever in the bind, right? This thing only has one. It is only ever hard or soft. It doesn't have variance. Stop that. Stop that. Just because you said it, right? Stop. You set the tension there with the screws. That sets the amount of resistance the sword has. It will only ever be what you set it to last. So you can't use it for fuel in, but you can use it to like just work um, the movements, right? So if I want to practice like a weak bind, I might set it up. I don't know, just sort of like hereabouts where like I'll pretend. Let's say you all are the center, right? So I might be like, okay, I have center control. What kind of stuff can I do? If I want to practice a strong bind, I might start with it set kind of more out here and then work those sorts of movements. That's kind of a scary one without a cross, without a back. I just had like a moment of like internal panic there because again, I'm used to having something on the back there. So when I go for that thrust, I'm used to having that, right? Tap, tap, tap. I'm used to having this projection here. So, so I immediately went to make that wind. I went, oh, right. I don't have that. A little scary. I'm planning to have post-morbidity. Oh boy, this chat's fast. Okay, what the? No, I haven't done anything with the Dream Sword yet. It's on the to-do list, but it's custom sword things happen on a time frame of months to years. They don't happen quickly. I'm working on it. Yeah, this is a bike repair stand. Sometimes I will use it for a bike, but not often. Yeah, I was trying to fix the kid's bike at one point. Yeah, if there aren't any clubs, I mean, you can never go wrong doing just like classic sport fencing. You know, like that's honestly not a bad way to start. So if there aren't any Hema clubs near you, but there's a fencing club, you know, like a sport fencing club near you, that's honestly worth checking out. I know why is Kalia so much more flowy than European Master or Dusak fighting? Conjecture. Sticks, you can take multiple hits from sticks. You also like non-existent hand protection, right? Like you can't really like post up very safely without a handguard. So if you know constant flow lets you sneak in those boom boom boom. You know you need to just assault the person with just rain hits on them, right? Because if you're fighting with sticks, it's not going to be like you know with the master you get boom. That might be the fight, right? You might go like you might be engaging. You know maybe I've gone boom. I can do like a quick bah, all right. I can flick and then come back. Boom, flick, back. That might be the end of the fight potentially. Sticks, you're going to probably have to boom 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 boom. I just really rack them with it. I think I've sparred against the Kendaka once. Maybe it was a long time ago. So I've sparred with people who did. I mean, who I haven't sparred. I don't think I've sparred with anybody who just does like strictly was just doing kendo, and then like they came and they like did like a dojo storm or whatever. I've not done that, but we have people in the club who came from kendo backgrounds, and I have fenced them. They got a mean vertical chop, I'll tell you that. I've never worn a kilt. It's always been one of those things that like, you know, I just never really felt like it was my thing to wear. Yeah, I've seen some Buhurt. I've fenced with some Buhurt guys actually. Yeah, nowadays it's mostly my background is in RDL, Ringek, Danzig, Lev. That's my background. That's where I spent, you know, the bulk of my time fencing was doing that stuff. And it's been kind of since I've started the channel that I've really started digging into Meyer. But it's gotten to the point where I'm known as like the Meyer guy in my club. So I guess I've kind of fully converted at this point. I don't know when that happened. I guess when I started a study group, that was probably like I actually formally started a study group. That was probably the point of no return. I would still use messer techniques with the messer here. This is, uh, I mean, it is a knife. I mean, I'd be using knife fighting techniques, but I wouldn't fight with it like it's a dagger, though. That I wouldn't do that. I am trying to keep up with the chat. I'm having to pick. Oh wait, I completely like missed. Somebody sent me like. I'm so sorry that I missed the donation there. Oh wait, no, I didn't. I didn't miss the donation. Never mind. That was the Kendo comment. Never mind. I'm okay. Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying something new with it. I'm trying to like comb it out. I'm not gonna. I don't have any intentions of doing the full like curly Q. I I, I don't think I'm quite eccentric enough to pull that off. But I am trying to like train it side to side because I can't grow anything in the middle, so there's not really that much of a point to grow it down. I'm trying to side to side. Hello, machete or a kukri? I don't own a kukri. I own well, I bought a machete for my wife, and I own several messers, which are all basically machete. Um, so I guess machete from familiarity. Um, as the affectionately known Big Red is in the chat. Have I seen any of that's a have I seen any of Seke Sensei's videos? Yes, yes, I have. Yeah, yeah, I've actually spoken with him. Um, yeah, I tried at one point when I was in Japan just to shoot a shot in the dark to see if we could align, but it just wasn't going to work out. But yeah, I really like Seke Sensei stuff. Oh boy, cat is in the paper. Yes, I own several katana. Favorite real life favorite swordsman, actual or historic? Actual or historic? What? Wait, would be mythical? I don't. I don't have one. I don't have one. Yeah. It's one of those things. I don't have. I don't usually like. It's like I don't really care that deeply about celebrities, and I don't really care that deeply about historical figures that badly. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really. I've never really thought about who my favorite swordsman is. I study Meyer a lot because I find his style of fencing interesting, and I find the sort of citizen city dweller fencer tradesman by day, sword fighter by night thing fun. But I don't like sit there and go like, oh yeah, Meyer's my favorite guy ever. I just like his book. It's like a respectful intrigue. Someone asked about the Dacian phalanx, didn't they? Dacian phalanx. Oh boy, this is moving so fast. I do not have a Viking sword. I've never actually gotten such. Where was that question? If I don't know how much like a gladius would have been used without a shield. I don't usually go that deep into Roman stuff. Everybody else, what? Yeah, don't skip on protective gear. Don't do that. How would footwork for different types of parries work? That's a very deep subject. That's a very, very deep subject. I guess I could do some cursory stuff. Uh, So again, it's also system dependent. I guess very loosely, we could say if we're in a system where we might be sword on our dominant side, but our non-dominant foot is forward, like a lot of long sword stuff, or messer. We can make a. We can generally we want our parry to the structure of our parry to be within our body. This is not as strong as this, but this is covering us better than this. So we can sort of like split the difference. We can turn our body to get this central position, but move it where we've created the cover. So that movement comes from the feet, not up here. I'm not like here and I'm going, let me cover this way. This is even worse than both. I'd rather parry like this, and I'd rather parry like this than to parry like that. That's no good. So we turn our torso in towards what we're parrying, and I assume you all can see down there. I don't know, the chat's moving, but I can get there by pivoting my back foot here. So I can turn with my foot. This foot stays wherever it is, it stays. The back one though, I turn on the ball of my foot, and that pivots my hips out to wherever I'm going. So I can parry side to side to side to side. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Yeah, that's messer, right? I gotta get the nagel out. 1, boom, boom, boom. Just turning the hip into what you're parrying. And this also allows you to drive. If I do it on the dummy here, I'm just going to blast it. It's not going to work out. It's got no friction on the ground. But I can use that hip movement to create power as I make that parry too. So I can actually drive my sword into that defense and create more displacement from that. So that's one, is that I can use my foot, the turn of my foot there, as the sort of pivot point that brings the whole torso into driving the sword into that space. So that's one. So you see that a lot with like longsword and such systems. And you can still apply that conceptually to if you're more squared up. You can still use the hip pivots, but it's generally less pronounced in my experience. Again, depending on, it's a system dependent thing. And then you get some where that back foot is just planted the entire time. I don't do a lot of broadsword stuff, but I know that there are broadsword systems where you plant the back foot. I guess Alfred Hutton does the whole 1, 2, do kind of thing. So rather than hip driving your parry, it is instead a matter of sort of like yielding onto that back foot and then making a cover and coming back. But you'll note, like, if I make that retreating cover, I can still keep my hand kind of like centralized there. I think Hutton does have some. Back, I think. I assume we're back. Hello? Yes, I'm back. So weirdest guard that works is like the body window guard thing here, which is infuriating to me. I see it. I'm like, oh, because like you see this pocket here, and you really want to attack the pocket, but that's exactly what they want you to do. Is they want you to attack the pocket. And it's like, don't. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, actually, I want to hit it. I want to hit this. And they're like, I know you want to hit this. That's why I'm giving it to you. I watch Seke Sensei stuff when it turns up. So, you know, if I see it, I'll watch it. But yes, I've played Half Sword. I was an immortal from the Highlander. So I'm an immortal from the Highlander series, and the only thing that can do the job is if you cut off their head, right? I guess I get like a falchion or something. Like a two-handed cleaver and just go for the neck every time. Yeah, the one that I can never pronounce. I've heard so many recommendations on how to pronounce it, and they never help me. Key. I just call it key. Yeah, there you go. Key. Key guard. I like key guard. I like key guard. Don't use it as a guard. It's like it's a guard, but it's not a guard. It's a position. But yeah, the more I do the Myra stuff, the more I'm like, yeah, they're not really guards. Not really. Posture. The key posture. I like key posture. Key posture is fun. I guess of the stuff that I have, it'd probably actually be that'd probably be my Highlander sword of choice right there. That Kriegsmesser would really do the job, I'm sure. Any swords in the real world that have? Yes, there are swords in the real world that have curved hilts like Count. I don't know off the top of my head of any that have the double curve. I don't know about the double curve, but Count Dooku's lightsaber is actually, ignore everything that you've ever heard about Count Dooku's lightsaber because all the pop culture stories about it are like totally bogus. Count Dooku's saber has like nothing to do with Sir Christopher Lee. I'm saying that right now. I'm going on record here. You can fact check this too. This is entirely fact checkable. I don't know why these. I guess they're good stories. Sir Christopher Lee being cast as Count Dooku has absolutely nothing to do with why his lightsaber is curved. Okay, just putting that out there right now. It has nothing to do with why it's curved. You can check this on StarWars.com. Just go to the actual Star Wars website. You can find this on an article. There's an article where they interview one of the concept artists for Episode 2. The actual story is that the guy practiced Filipino martial arts, and he had a collection of Filipino swords and so forth, and related memorabilia. They were trying to find inspiration for lightsabers and stuff for Episode 2, and he brings his sword collection into work, because that's the kind of job they have. I mean, imagine you go to Skywalker Ranch and you bring your sword collection and be like, hey, George Lucas, these are my swords. What do you like? And then George apparently walked in and he was like, I like that. And he pointed to a barong. I think that's the word. Yeah, barong. And so it's the curve. So it's this like really pretty sword. But the main thing is that it has a hilt, a handle that goes straight and then it curves very strongly at the back. You get this sort of like gun stock shape out of it. So that's actually why it has a curved hilt, because it's actually a barong. It is not Charlemagne's sword, which, if you want to, Charlemagne's sword is also curved, for your question. But Dooku's lightsaber is not Charlemagne's sword. It has nothing to do with Charlemagne's sword. It's a barong. I have made shorts about it, actually. But people then try to correct it and say that it's not the real story, even though I provide the article itself. I mean, none of the other stories are ever provided with any degree of evidence. It's all hearsay. The barong one is actually an interview. Anyways, Count Dooku's lightsaber is my favorite lightsaber, so that's. I get very passionate about Kentuka's lightsaber. I see you giggling. Does my dream sword work as a light rapier or a side sword? Theoretically, yes. Currently, no. Not remotely right now. It's too much. It is too much sword. Ugh, in its current state. This does not have any of the necessary handling characteristics to be a good rapier or a good side sword. It's too much sword. You can get swings from it with one hand. You know, it's not really that big a deal to swing it in one hand. I did it. I shot myself in the foot when I did the video about it, where I was like, I handed up a little bit when I was talking about it. You can swing this thing around in one hand. It's just coming to it as a fencer. It's very sluggish in one hand. You know, they were like, "Oh, just hit the gym. You can actually swing it." I'm like, I can actually swing it. It's just, you know, you pick this thing up and you're like, I don't love it. I don't love it. And then you go and you pick up something like, I don't know, like this, and you're like, oh yeah, this thing was meant to be used. You know, it flows, it's quick, it's nimble, pop, boom, 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 all that fun stuff. It's great. You love it. And it's not even a two-handed sword thing. You know, this handles amazingly. The Messer, this is probably even the better comparison to make here. Because look at this thing. Look at this giant slice. Look at that. Look at the blade on that, right? Like, this thing looks serious. And it's got the two-handed handle with a big old blade, right? You'd think, oh yeah, this is a big old heavy cleaver. But then, oh, look at that. It's just as quick. It's so nimble. Because it might have a very broad blade, but it's a very thin blade. Look at that. It almost disappears. The cat is really going into the... What? The cat is diving into the packing paper. Ooh. Yeah, so this, I can move it, but it is, you might even be able to see how the blade is so heavy that it like drags behind the movement. So if I need to get the blade somewhere, it is much slower to actually move that blade. I can move the hilt. You can see like the point where it wants to like drag the blade, right? So I can move the hilt back and forth. That blade hangs out in that sort of space. And the blade is like, if I try to, I can't pop it up very quickly into like a hanging guard. It sags, it drags behind the hand an annoying amount. This is very much a two-handed. Hi. Well, now I don't want to swing it around because you're here. I know. I need room. I know. All right. You happy now? No, you're not happy yet. But yeah, this is very much a two-handed sword in its current state, which is unfortunate. It was supposed to be a hand-and-a-half sword in behavior, but it's mostly just a two-handed sword in behavior. But it's pretty. It's very pretty. I'm not sure about how wide it ended up being. I don't know. Now I'm sitting here thinking about this thing. I'm just holding it out. I'm now realizing there's like an ouch angle into it that I'm wondering if maybe this needs to be pulled forward more. I don't know. It's too late. I'm going to probably have him fix the blade. I'm not having him do anything with the guard. That's, yeah, I'm really, maybe a bit of an ouch angle here. Right? right there's a little sketchy. The idea of this guard's not to be stab proof, obviously. It's very skeletized, but the thought is that you would prevent cuts. That does seem a little worrisome. Anyways, I'm back. Hello. I got a. Oh, this is actually a very fun question. Why do most Hema techniques in LARP don't work? Because often they are illegal. It's often illegal. It depends on the LARP, right? Some LARPs have no thrusts. If you don't allow thrusts, that's a whole chunk out the window. Some don't allow hand shots or head shots, or like they allow maybe they allow hand shots, but they don't count them, and then no head shots. So if you take out hand shots, head shots, and thrusts, you're left with not a whole lot. I mean, you still got enough, but it strips a lot out. Also, the LARP swords don't have the presence of steel swords. It's why go through the trouble of delivering a well-structured cut with a that as you would do with a piece of steel, right? Where you have to, it has mass and stuff, and you have to get it flowing and perform a well-structured parry against their attack when you're working with a piece of foam, latex-covered foam rod that you can just like, right, and get hits that way. Like, it's not to knock the athleticism of some of the stuff LARP people do. Like, the fact that their things weigh next to nothing and they can just like smack each other silly with these things means that the way they fight tends to be very aerobic. I mean, they're flying, they're throwing themselves through the air, they're diving, they're rolling, they're doing all sorts of crazy stuff because they don't have to be able to be like, boom, good cut. They just have to get you, right? So, you try performing a good cut after you just rolled on the ground. Yeah, good luck. But like, if you just were like, hi, well, boom, I tapped you, I win. Then yeah, why would you spend the effort trying to fence with that sort of composure when your thing is so fast that you're more incentivized to just kind of like whip it into place, and especially like just whoosh kind of stuff, right? You don't need to cut well, you just need a pa. You get a lot of this boom, like snapping kind of fighting, especially with like shields. I'm looking for a shield. Like, I see a lot of this kind of like, because you don't have to protect your head, right? If headshots, just taking headshots out of the equation changes up your priorities so much, because now you don't have to worry about the head. You have to protect like neck down. That shifts your priorities immensely, because now one of the big concerns when you go for legs with a sword is, if I go for the leg, what's open? My head, right? But if it's illegal for you to hit my head and I go for the leg, it shifts priorities. And very often those priorities shift out of the spectrum of what you do in the historical techniques. It's not, bad because it does this. It's just a natural expression of the rules. People are inclined to optimize for whatever environment they're working in. So if you are in a LARP environment with LARP rule sets, you are going to optimize the way you play that game into what fits the rule set, which is not necessarily going to look the same as what the other people are doing in their rule set. And yeah, when we do Hema, we have rules too. Like, we try to make concessions to, make it feel suitably historic, but we still compromise on stuff to keep ourselves safe. We wear gear that they didn't have. We have excluded target zones, which they did actually have too. Like there are some where you don't do hand shots in kind play, or other stuff. So sometimes it's also like more LARPy in that way. It's complicated. But I've prattled on too long about that one. I'm gonna find another question before I keep going down the rabbit hole. Let's see. I had a question. Oh, hey, Shakti. Where is this? You know what? I'm gonna work on that. I'm gonna work on that, Shakti. Let's see here. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna give this one a try. Let's see. Ooh. Okay, we're ready. Okay. So I got a split space on itself with a 10 billion full of play. Okay, ready? Let's go. Oh, amazing. I can't actually reach the thing to put it back now. Onto the table with everything else you go. I have another question. What is this one? Windwalker asks, how about pairing arming side sword with a short staff in the offhand staff, a large handguard in the center, basically a buckler. It's a magic staff. It sounds solid. It's very reminiscent of some African shields. I wish I could remember the name of them. But yes, that's basically the exact same thing. Can I approximate it? Yeah, I can approximate this. Yeah, something like this. Yeah. This is actually something that there is some precedent for, specifically with those African. I'm trying to not bang my. Yeah, so part of it is the shield construction itself would have essentially like a buckler-ish, not literally a buckler, but something. I think it's like a rawhide. It's just a hide structured up like a shield, as a shield, not like a shield, is a shield. So you'd have some toughened rawhide as a shield there, and then you would either be a central haft, and the haft is part of your shield. So it's a handguard with a stick as your shield. In that hand, you would be holding other stuff, and by other stuff, I just mean more spears. So you'd be fighting with a spear in one hand, and you'd have a bundle of spears, and then your hide-covered stick as your shield, and you would sit there throwing spears or fighting with the spear, or you'd grab a new spear and you'd fight with the spear. And it's not a very big spear, by the way. The spears we're talking about here are approximately this long. Yeah, this feels about right. About this long. So they are almost just like swords on sticks. It's about like a blade of about that much maybe blade, and then the rest is stick. And then you would sit there and you'd fight. I think they might sometimes have spiky bits on the back end too, maybe. I don't quite remember, but I feel like I remember it being sort of this boom, boom kind of thing. Yeah, no, totally valid to do that. It'd be kind of cool to see it more. Just not something that you see in a lot of European context, but yeah, there's totally like African precedents for this particular approach. Really fun. I've done it before. We had some practitioners come as guests to a workshop. It was very enjoyable. Of course, the way in which you practice it is that you don't actually get the shield part. You just have a stick and a stick, and that's your training tool. So you end up learning real fast how to protect your hand with the stick, with making your parries with the stick when you have absolutely no handguard whatsoever. It's a fun one. So I hope you like that. Yeah. And of course, if you can do magic with it, then that's a whole new realm of possibility. My favorite sword I have currently, I mean, it's even though it's currently my problem child, it's still my beloved sword. This is still my favorite sword. It's just not my favorite to use right now, let's just say that. But I am so happy to finally own this thing. Makes me very happy. It just needs some work. It needs a little more work. What is the difference between a cut, a slice, a slash, and a chop? This is entirely subjective. I mean, we're talking definitions there. Someone get like a bit of. I have my watch worked on. I just noticed like a flake of something inside it. That's upsetting. The way I would define those. Oh boy, what were they? I forgot them. Oh yes, I do like knives. I have many knives. I have a lot of knives. I've never done a video on all my knives. I have a lot of them. What was the question? What was the question? Is there a situation using a longsword against another that would make it sense to release your offhand from the weapon to use it as a punch or a push? Yes, a lot of time. If you are strong on strong, yes. Where was that question? Yeah, Zulu combat. Yeah, Zulu. I didn't want to. Zulu was on my brain there, and I didn't want to say it and be wrong. I've lost the comment. I'm just going to go with what I remember of the comment. How would I define chop, slash, slice, and there was another one. Well, so I would describe chop as just being a very just boom. I would think of it as probably the most crude motion of the lot. I would call a chop just, it's monkey brain, just boom boom, peasant strike type thing, right? That's your chop right there. I would say a slash would be as soon as you start adding in a sort of like drawing. I think of slashes being somewhere between a cut and a slice, sort of, which a cut could be a chop. Yeah, so I think of a chop as just being a very like bodily, like boom kind of thing. I would consider like a cut being more like that kind of action, where you get a bit more of that diagonal. And then I would consider it a slash if you start to get a more of like a drag through it. I think of slashes as being a very as an arcing kind of movement. That's what I tend to think of as being, it rakes as much as it cuts otherwise. So I would consider those slashes. And a slice is there's no this component to it. It is, there's no striking component to a slice. It is, it's whoosh whoosh, like it's the dragging of an edge across something. So maybe you get like a press and you pull through, or you're, something like this, slice that way, right? It's contact and then draw, as opposed to like strike. So chop is just unga bunga. Slash would be swoop. So it's strike and draw. Slice is no strike, just draw. I feel like that's a pretty good breakdown. those aren't like official definitions by any means. That's just my interpretation of how I would translate those words into actions. And for, I assume, writers in the room. Oh, someone else asked a question. Have I ever fought in early medieval Hema? Like, I guess if you want to count like arming sword and buckler, on that. Thanks for the super question, Artham. Yeah, I'm sorry I don't have a more enriching answer to that. I would say, yeah, mostly just like sword and buckler. This is kind of the earliest type of stuff I've done. I've done some like sword and heater shield, if you want to count that. Is the Zweihander a great crowd control weapon? Yes. If a bunch of people jump somebody who has a Zweihander, could they kill the person with the Zweihander? Absolutely. They just all have to go at once. The catch is, if you all go at once, one of you is probably going to get hit by the Zweihander. Who wants to volunteer to be the one to get hit? Hence why it's good at crowd control. It's not a guarantee that they can't get you. It's a guarantee that they can't get you without losing one of them along the way. Were all greatswords only used for crowd control and pike formation? As opposed to, I think that just sort of ends up blanketing most of the use case for them, because the time that they saw use in war was in the period of pike and shot. So battlefield deployments just essentially is entirely encompassed by pike and shot. Now, no, that's crowd control again. I never say never. I'm not going to say that it was never used, but yeah, pretty much every instance, every situation I can think of where you put it, there is either the assumption that it's going to be in a formation with pikes, or it's an assumption that it's one guy who's probably going to have to fight off multiple people, or at least is prepared to fight off multiple people. Godinho has some stuff where you just carry it as a personal self-defense weapon, which is crazy to me. But he talks about like going out at night with your montante. I'm like, okay, all right. I guess we're just walking down the streets with a giant sword on our shoulder. Okay, that's where we're at. But again, the assumption there is you're walking around at night and you might be attacked by multiple people. So I'm sure there were contexts where, oh, there is one. It was, I can think of one specific context that's instructed that it is the weapon of the fencing master. So like in schools, that be like the thing that you would be walking around with as like the master, and you might give demonstration with it. I suppose that's a context where you're using it. I'm sure there's some people who dueled with them, I'm sure. I mean, I think when you're beginning Hema, you don't need to know anything. You'll learn. It'll happen. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The longsword and arming sword would be better in a duel. It depends on which one are you better with. Which one do they have? Which one are they better with? You have a choice of weapons. You get a pick. If you get a pick the one that you're better with. Don't let them pick the one that they're better with. That kind of thing. The thing with duels is that they're usually prearranged and people generally agree on what's being used. And very often you're using the same thing. So you're not necessarily trying to make the decision of, can I beat that arming sword with my longsword? You're making the choice of, am I more at home using a longsword or an arming sword? And is that guy known for being really good with one or the other? If that guy's like, oh yeah, he loves his longsword. Even if I'm not necessarily better, I might pick him to, I might be like, nah, no, we're not doing longswords. You're good with longsword. I don't want to fight longswords. We're not doing longswords. We're going to do spears. How about that? I don't think I want to do a spear duel. That just sounds like death for everyone. do you know why we don't see much sword with very strong profile, tapered triangular blades, very wide at the base and very thin at the top? Very wide at the base and very thin at the top. Triangular, strong. I'm trying to picture. Is this a very? Are we talking like? Trying to think of, because there's two ways we could be triangling here. Like, is there any degree of like triangle cross section like that going on there? Because that definitely changes the equation a bit. Otherwise, depends. You might be giving up a lot of strike zone. If you have like a really like crazy taper, you could potentially be losing out on cutting power because you're putting so much weight there at the bottom. But if it's a thrusting sword, you don't necessarily need it to be like super wide at the base. I'm thinking, stuff like chicken. Never pronounce the word. Chikadea. Those are coming to mind, but those still have a. I'm trying to picture it in my head. Hi, dog. Cinquedea. There we go. That's it. Cinquedea. Oh, I had another question. Oh, best before the world ends. Best way to strengthen your wrist. Better to move with the messer you just got. Oh gosh, what is it? I'm trying to remember the wrist exercise. I know there is one you can do, but I'm hesitant to suggest it and cause a problem. The one that comes to mind is basically to find something with like a reasonable amount of weight on the end, and then just practice just like 1, 2, just very gently, just 1 and 2, 1. And I do mean like like you don't want to like overdo it with the weight and then suddenly you're like strain, pain. Just 1, 2, 1, 2, and just go nice and easy, and don't do anything crazy. Yeah, nice, easy, long, because we're looking for strength here, not right. So like you want to like give it time through the movements, because you're trying to go, you're kind of going for the endurance run here more than you're not sitting going like because like this is where the strain's gonna happen, is when you're sitting here like whipping it back and forth. That's gonna but just lift and back down, lift, and just try to like don't let it like accelerate through. Just try to keep it like try to like lock this in, just and stuff like that. Oh, okay. Many questions. Wait, this one came in. What companies would I recommend for buying swords from? Ooh, depends on what you're trying to buy. So if you're starting out, and if you're doing like Hema longsword, my #1 recommendation for a beginner sword is to get a Regagne, just a Regagne fetter. If you are over 6 feet, I would get the standard. If you are under 6 feet, I would get the short. And if you're under like 5 foot, get the mini. But yeah, short. If you're under 5 foot, get the. If you're under 6 foot, get the short. If you're over 6 foot, get the standard. That'd be my recommendation for a beginner longsword. If you want something nicer, then the next best choice, in my opinion, is to go with Siggy. And Siggy just does everything really nicely. I've never heard anything bad about Siggy's. And that's not just longswords. I mean, just Siggy just does not seem to make bad stuff. Is what from what I've heard, Siggy just doesn't make bad stuff. So you can't really go wrong with anything made by Siggy. For sharp swords, I've had some good experience in a sort of mid-grade, but not quite like, not in entry grade, like as a mid-grade. I've had good experiences with Kingston, and then LK Chen is sort of like on that upper end of the mids. It's not quite into the high ends. I'd say like LK Chen right there. I'd say Kingston down here. Valor Arms is just like LK Chen, but for Cult of Athena. So LK Chen, Valor Arms, Kingston Arms. I'm looking for inspiration. Case in point, of the swords up here, I've got a Windless, which is an entry. Windless is a okay entry grade. I've got a Windless, and then Valor Arms, Kingston, and then I've got a Kingston Rapier down here. I like Kingston a lot. They're fun. Kingstons are at that price point where I'm like, yeah, I could get that. Yeah, I'm in the mood. How does one sheath a tachi if it's facing down, like any other sword? Avoiding the bayonet. Ooh. I'm just playing Limbo, the bayonet. Don't mind me. Not actually. No, don't get my video taken down. I'm not actually playing Limbo with the bayonet. Tachi. So Tachi, don't do this. This is not Tachi. Tachi do like this, which means they just kind of work like any other sword. So you'd be like, ooh, got my sword. I'm done with my sword. It's kind of hard to like, you can just that in there. And, ooh. I mean, I'm sure there's a formal way to do it. But yeah, I mean, Tachi, you can just kind of go at it like it's a normal sword. It hangs like a conventional sword carry. There's not really anything too fancy about how that system works. It's literally just tied to your waist. Tied, and then hanging down from your waist. Sigi Maestro, and I don't think I've used the Maestro. Maybe I have. Oh, and if you want a really like nice, shiny, high-end sword, Albion is a good choice. And for a really fancy, high-end sparring sword, Malleus is very good. Very, very expensive, but very, very worth the money. Malleus. Love Malleus stuff. They're just pretty. They're just pretty. Hi. How you doing? I know you've been wondering.
Thanks for finally answering about the Siggy Maestro that you've been asking for a while.
Yes, yeah, that sounds right. Historically, the deadliest weapon is probably knives and things. Would a trigger guard that covers all the fingers be useful for dual wielding? I'm not following on why it's specifically good for dual wielding. I don't know why it would be uniquely good for dual wielding. just seems like it's going to cover your fingers, which is nice. Like, is it not just like is it not just a knuckle bow? We're doing something more than a knuckle bow. I don't quite follow. You know, like, as opposed to this, because like I've got fingering and I've got the knuckle bow. All my fingers are covered by a bar. I don't follow. What's the lightest sword you can have? There are swords in the ounces, just in like there's a few ounces. There are some like needle thin small swords out there. They are terrifying because they're so light, but you just see that point and you're like, that could go in someone. I'm from the US of A. So I think, okay, if we were still carrying swords, I've actually answered this years ago. I can say that now. Years ago, I answered this question. If we still had swords, what would we be carrying? And I posited that we'd probably still be carrying small swords if we just continue with the progression of swords. I feel like we'd probably just end up we'd just still have small swords because people were carrying small swords not that long ago in the scheme of things. I think maybe they would have possibly shrank more. Someone suggested that if we were still carrying swords, cars would have been designed to accommodate them, but I don't know. Because I think because it's not just that cars would change to accommodate. You know, people used to wear hats all the time, and then people generally blame cars for a lot of the downfall of hats. So I'm not convinced that cars would have necessarily accommodated swords so much as I think people wouldn't want to have bothered with it, and they would have basically transitioned to even shorter swords. And it's like nobody wears big coats anymore, myself excluded. But you know, if you live in a very car centric place, thinking about subways too. Imagine carrying swords on subways. I think the conditions of modern life would just compel everybody down to like stubby little things. I think, you know, I think a lot of people would just be carrying stuff around like this, something that is really compact that you can just have, and like I could have this on my person. I could just sit down in a car. You know, I could be on a subway and it's not taking up someone's space near me. I think people would just be carrying around big daggers, ultimately, I suppose. But they might. I still like the idea that they would have kept a certain small sword quality to them. Basically, just continue to shrink the small sword into like a micro sword, and it's just like a stiletto with a handguard of a small sword. I kind of feel like that's the way it would go. Is you just keep getting like you just have this stubby little small sword. Ooh, someone asked if I have a French sword. I do have a French sword. I literally have an actual French, not a reproduction. I have an actual for realsies French sword. Historical. It's the singular historical piece I own. Is my French sword. I can go get it. It's trouble to get, but I can get it for you because it is cool. No, maybe. I wouldn't object. The French sword. Yeah, I need the steps. I need I need the stool. Someone asked if I have a rapier. Yes, I have a rapier. I just had it on stream, but I assume nobody saw it. Ta-da! Rapier. I have a couple rapiers actually, but I'm not getting them. I'm just getting the one. Okay. My actual for reals is French sword. Things I do. Things I do. Ooh.
I need to like let them watch you do this.
No, I got it. Yes. Actual for reals is French sword. Ugh. There you go. What? Do what? Oh yeah.
Old.
There you go. Thank you. I'll take that. Okay. This is the oldest thing I own. Maybe. Actually, it might not be. My pocket watch might be older. It might be older. What was this year? This was 1903. This was made in 1903. So last century. So it's not that old, but it's over 100. 100 and some change. 20, 120, whatever, 22. Yeah, it's 20. Approximately 120 plus, give or take, years. Old sword. This French. It was made in France. It was made, it actually says where it was made. Manufacturing National of the Arms of, oh, I can't pronounce that. Chateau Real. Something like that, Chateau Real. It was made in 1903. It is a officer. Oh yeah, it does say officer infantry. Yeah, officer d'infantry MLE 1882. So this is the model 1882 French infantry officer sword. This particular one made in 1903. Yeah, Chateau. I mean, I can hold it up. Maybe I don't think anyone can read this. Oh, yeah, it's not going to come through. There's writing on there. You can probably tell that there's writing on there, but I can't read it. I got it on eBay. Got it on eBay. Everybody always that's where I get stuff. I'm like, I just bought it. My coat eBay, my 1903 store eBay. You just have to be careful. How much was it? I think it wasn't all that much. I say not all that much. It was still like 400 something. But like I say not all that much because I have other swords that are more expensive that are new than this thing. My custom sword is more expensive than this thing. Is it sharp? It's not supposed to be. It's not a. It's pointy is the important part. This isn't really a cutty sword. This is a stabby sword. So it is pointy. It's very pointy. It's not intended to like you could put an edge on it, but it's not. I mean, like look at that. It's got a funky fuller. Look, the fuller is on different sides. That's not how that's supposed to work. But there's a fuller on the front edge here, on the back edge there. That makes for a really weird cutting edge because you generally don't want a fuller like right up on your edge. You know, you'd want to have more blade to cut with before the fuller, but if I flip it around, that same edge, not a lot of blade. So this is, you could maybe give it some cuts, but it's not a cutting sword by any means. This is a thruster. But this is my oldest sword. It is a French sword. It is an antique. It's really beautiful I mean, it's got some tarnishing and stuff, but it still gives it character. It has not been compromised. Its beauty has not been compromised, I think, by its age. It's been well cared for. I keep it in a UV protected box, display box, shadow box thing. And very usefully to its survivability is that it is actually, the whole thing is nickel plated, I believe. So I don't have to worry too much about rust on it. I clean it. You don't want to oil it though. Oiling it is actually bad because it can potentially get underneath the plating, and then the plate, it'll like break the plating off of it, and bad. So you don't actually oil it. You just wipe it clean, and then it's good to go. It is the wire wrap around the bone handles a little loosey goosey. See, look at the wire wrap's a little. It's a little loose. The horn handle's in pretty good condition too. There's a small crack down here. There's a split right there. So that's it. That's the only discernible damage to the handle. And what's really interesting about this sword is that while the sword itself is very beautiful, it actually came with a field cover. That's the really, really rare fine part about this. So that's what's so cool about it, is the field cover, which is up there. Yes, that was an original sword from, from the 20th, 1903. The design is 19th because it's in 1882, but it was made in 1903. I like bill hooks. Are they better than halberds? They're sort of interchangeable. I like them more than halberds. Yes, it is a very rigid blade. I do not dare test it. I would be heartbroken if I bent it. I will never test the flexibility on that blade. But yeah, the way it's designed is very stiff. Just looking at it, you can tell and also like when you move it around, there's zero flex to it. I can waggle it, and it's just you can usually feel flex in a blade if you start whipping it. You can. My rapier comes to mind. Yeah, this one. Yeah, you can look at it. Look at it. Let it go. You can see how like the blade is whipping like frame to frame here. My hand's not really going around. It's just whippy. So you can usually feel if a sword's particularly flexible. That thing though, you waggle that blade around and it is solid. There's no give to that blade. Yeah, just completely stiff. I mean, I could maybe give it a gentle tap. Yeah, I don't want to like bang it, but like, yeah, there's nothing. It doesn't do anything of the sort. That would be the oldest sword I own. I mean, so literally the object that is the oldest is that sword. The oldest design I have is the arming sword, perhaps. I think it's the oldest design I have. Unless you want to count I guess I've got the axe. This is probably older as a design. I guess it's the axe. What are you giggling about? The oldest design you have in a rock. Like that. Fair enough. Fair enough. And not wrong. Thank you. Oh boy, this chat's zooming again. Or maybe it was always zooming in, I just didn't know. How much was my custom sword? I don't even remember. Because I bought a lot of stuff. I bought a dagger, I bought a scabbard for both, I bought a belt. I'm trying to remember what portion of what I paid was just the sword. I think the sword was 1,200. I think it was 1,200 for the sword. Yeah, chat is very zooming. Yeah, yeah, it's, oh, hello. 6-foot bow staff, oh, purchase 2 forward musket, defense, serious pleasure. How to affix. I suppose it depends on the, if it's got like rivet holes, you could rivet it on potentially. Otherwise, you might just, you're probably just going for some sort of friction fit plus maybe some epoxy in there. You want it to have a good fit through friction. My tongue tied. I would work on the ends of the haft until you can get a really good friction fit out of it, and then once you feel like that's really solid, I would then put some epoxy to it. Personally, that's what I did with my spear butt cap. Somewhere. Where is it? Yeah, that butt cap. There. That's just friction fit and then epoxied, and it has stayed there for a long time. You could always custom order something, Polly. What's the difference between a Yari and a naginata? A Yari is a spear, a naginata is a glaive. To help drive that home, the Yari has a thrusting point, a naginata has essentially a very short katana blade on it. That's probably the easiest way to put it. Or like a wakizashi. I guess you could call it a wakizashi, but I think they actually remounted some naginata as wakizashi. Really, that's something that was done. I know that is something that was done. I was at a museum not too long ago. I went to a samurai exhibit, and I distinctly remember a wakizashi that was made from a remounted naginata blade. Yeah, it was pretty. Yes, they are mostly. So the main influence on my custom sword was a family of swords, sometimes called, trying to not push the word, reachfoot, riding swords. So there's a family of riding swords that mostly belongs to. I copied the piercings on the blade from a museum example of a rapier that's in Glasgow. The dagger is not exactly based on anything in particular. I gave the smith a historical piece that was concurrent with that as far as date ranges go, but the main thing was just make a parrying dagger version of the sword. So the sword's the main thing that's been historically based, and then the dagger is a interpretation of that sword as a dagger. Great question on the dagger. The extended pommel on the dagger is intended just to be a match. It's just a match. There's not, you're not meant to two-hand the. I thought I saw a speck of rust. I started getting fixated. But yeah, the pommel on the dagger is just to be a match for the sword. I had no intentions of it being a functional part of the grip. You could use it to like hook with, like you're using a messer or something, but it's not intended as a grip.
What would you choose?
A sparring version of any fantasy sword. That's the kicker. There aren't many fantasy swords I have to care about. I'm gonna say Dread Pirate Robert's sword because it's just a really solid sword design. Anything temp. Friction. If you can get a really good friction fit, then that's certainly temporary. You could maybe look at drilling a hole into the end cap and attaching like a screw or something, or a nail that you could prise back out. Do I like Kriegsmesser? I do like Kriegsmesser. How long has this been going? Oh, almost an hour and a half. Oh, an hour and a half. Do I think I could survive a year in the medieval era? I think that depends on where I land. Because I wouldn't be able to understand anyone. That's kind of a problem. I wouldn't know how to behave. I wouldn't, I'd be missing. I'd be a fully grown adult who couldn't speak the language, who has a knowledge set that is, with some exceptions, largely focused on what we currently have available. I think it's possible, but not great. All my vaccinations would probably come in handy. How would one duel with a pike? Kind of comically. I've seen pike dueling. It is when you get a pole arm that is as long as a pike, they get floppy. It, like, honestly, watching two people spar, or not even, but like, I've seen people do like actual pikes, like for real pikes, and they're not actually like connecting the thrust, but just moving the pike against another pike. And they just look like they're fighting with pool noodles, really heavy pool noodles. It's really funny looking. What was this? I'm playing Age of Empires 3 a lot lately, and heavy infantry counters cavalry, and some of them carry big swords. What swords IRL counter cavalry? That's something that I see float. Like, I've seen people float around the idea of like horse killer swords, and what is it? The Nagamaki is supposed to be a horse killer. Some people say that the Montante is a horse killer. There are better implements for dealing with horses, I think, than swords. We kind of knocked it out of the park with the whole long pointy stick thing. That's my 2 cents. Could it be done? I suppose, but long pointy stick does it pretty well. Ooh. Do I have a favorite piece of historical art depicting swords? Ooh. I think I gotta give it to the one that I actually possess. The one that stuck out to me so much that I actually wanted to, like, it's not the actual one, but it's a print. But this picture has always captivated me. Yeah, this is my favorite one. It feels alive in a way. You know, it's a it feels candid. Let's go with that. Feels like somebody was sitting down somewhere and they were looking at someone and they were just, you know, just done in the moment. Feels very life. Little snapshot of life. I love it. I love how casually he's carrying the sword too. He's got the giant sword on his shoulder. And he's just like, "Hey, how's it going?" I did not meet Sensei. Wait, wait. I'm getting my people mixed up. There's Seki Sensei. Sensei, yes, I did meet. I stabbed him actually. Yeah, I'm in his video. I'm the guy that stabs him in the face. That's me. As far as I can tell, Flamberge was a flash in the pan fashion statement. I think Scala Gladiatoria did a video or something where they actually tried some cutting tests with it. I haven't watched it yet. That might be worth checking out. They might have found out something that is new. I prefer to do unarmored fencing. If I had to fight for my life, I want the armor. But if I'm doing it for sport, I want unarmored. Unarmored's just more fun to me. I do have a degree in history, yes. Someone asked it, what would I... Oh, okay, I've got a couple. Someone asked, what would I want to do for a job if I was in the historical blah, blah, blah. And bracers, traditional, are they more practical? Bracers, are they practical? Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go with those. Suspenders, I like them. I love them. They're comfy. They pair way better when you wear higher waisted pants, though. That's my impression. Uh, when you wear higher waisted pants, the waistband of your pants is over your stomach. If you eat food, your stomach gets bigger. If you eat less food, your stomach gets smaller. It means that if you do a belt, which has no give because it's a belt, you eventually you go through the day. If you ate like a big lunch, you're like, that's a little tight. You have to like put it to another notch. It's a whole hassle. Suspenders, they just sit. So it's the practicality of suspenders, I think, is directly related to where the pants sit. If pants are down on your hips, a belt works really well. If the pants are up on your waist, I think suspenders are better. I think it's just entirely dependent on where you are wearing your pants. Oh, right, other question was, what would I want to do if I was, I want to do? I suppose I'd probably just be a tailor. Yeah, tailor would be, yeah. I'll go with tailor. How about that? I say because I definitely I refuse the premise of being one now. Tailor's one of those things where it's like I like to fantasize that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a tailor. Yeah, I'm gonna be a tailor. But whenever I try to do anything with fabric, I usually end up throwing it somewhere. I find fabric so infuriating. I've done stuff. I've dabbled, and it always ends in me being very mad. So maybe I'd actually hate it. Maybe I'd quit. But if I'm allowed to pretend, I'm going to fantasize about being a medieval tailor. How about that? That'll be my fantasy. Is there a hand? Is the hand and a half sort of a thing? Is there a specific? It's a very nebulous category. I stand looking around like I have one. I do have one, but it's not. It's a complicated example. So for me, I generally think of hand and a half swords as being. I take it literally. I take it as there being room for a hand and a half. I mean, this one actually does have room for. Get the idea, though. I have this much room. I have exactly that. I guess that's the way to put it. Is I think of hand and a half swords as there is exactly enough room to get your hand on there and not a lick more. Oh, and there's enough room to get hand and a half. As opposed to room for hands. Hands and more. 2 hands and more. Oh, I hope you enjoyed the tournament, Nightly. Any tips? Just get my 1,000 yard stare. Tournaments. Try to be aware if you're falling into a rut. Ruts. If the rut is working, then it's fine. If you are doing the exact same, if something's working, keep doing it until it stops working. And if it's not working, stop doing it. And that sounds super simple, but it's not, because you can get into this sort of circular place where you're just like you're struggling to think of something else, and they lure you in, and you keep doing the same dumb mistake. Realize when you're doing that as soon as you can and stop it, and just no. But if you can get the trick to work, you can make it work a second time. If you make that one trick work twice, try it a third time. If it works twice, there's a very real chance it'll work a third time. And if it works a third time, it'll probably work a fourth time. If it works a fourth time, you can win a match. I tried Peaky Blinders. I didn't get into it. What's your question, Captain Sin? Has there been any historical precedents for dual wielding smaller blades? I'm aware of like butterfly swords. I think it's a Chinese thing. They're like stubby little machete falchions, just like it's like a pair of falchions. They're pretty short. I lost connection. No, we're back. What did I look at me in formal wear? I don't know what specifically did. I started to kind of experiment with it in college. I guess I was going to college and I got stuck with the bug of like, I'm going somewhere new, time to reinvent myself. And then I did. I don't know exactly what it was. It's hard to pinpoint one thing that did it. I like Blues Brothers, but Blues Brothers was maybe the like entry point. I was really big into Blues Brothers for a stint. That might have been the entry point. Oh, the armor that I'd love to see more of would I want to show it, but it's over there and it's hard to get to. I don't know what else. The long tassets. I want more of the long tassets. Just give me more of those. Where instead of a fold and then cuisses, it's just tassets the whole way down. Those look cool. I like them. Give me more of them. people have made working wrist hidden blades from Assassin's Creed, so they apparently work. And as far as being a concealed weapon, I mean, if the mechanism works and it's strong enough to stab with, then yeah, I reckon it works. The problem is if somebody like sees it. I mean, that's why they're hidden, of course. But I think if you got caught, I don't think you have much of an excuse at that point. If somebody was like, if you got frisked and someone was like, "What's this thing?" and they see it and they're like, "Oh, an assassin," where maybe you could explain away having a knife on you, right? You have if I'm walking around with this thing on me, I mean, like, it's my knife. It's my knife. What? I'm not an assassin. It's my knife. I use it to cut food. You get caught with a. Actually, it's a great question about the hidden blade. I almost forgot I have this thing. Ugh. Yeah. If somebody catches you with this thing strapped to your wrist, what's your excuse, right? Like, I got caught. Uh-oh. Okie dokie. Uh-huh.
Dark Souls Silver Knight. What do you think of it?
Oh, I
Is
reviewed.
it a long sword or?
Wait, what?
It was like way back in the chat.
What about the Silver Knight? They have a lot of things. The Silver Knight armor, the Silver Knight spear, there's Silver
They were
Knight.
asking like, is it a long sword or something else?
Oh.
Way back in the chat. So I figured you didn't see it.
Probably a long. I don't remember what it looks like enough. I remember that was a silver sword. I assume it was a long sword. Yeah, because it's hidden. It's my back scratcher, I swear, officer. Yeah, that's the main issue with the hidden blade, is that it's like unequivocally like it's an assassin's weapon. That you get caught with it, you're an assassin, red-handed or hidden bladed handed. That's the downside to it. You can't, and despite it being called the hidden blade, you can't hide it but so much. It has one place where it is hidden. A knife you could hide anywhere. A knife is infinitely more hideable than a hidden blade. Welcome, David Lee. I could hide a knife in the suspenders. Like I could like put one. There's bits there. You could like have a little slot and like tuck a knife in there. There's so many more places you could hide a knife. Yeah, you could do that, Melon. Boom, boom, boom. A knife that comes out of the tip of your shoe. Yeah, you could do that too. You just have a knife in your shoe. When does our club open up to beginners classes? I believe we have a beginner section in Armazare and Napoleonic currently. I think the Armazare might have gotten full though. I believe Napoleonic is still open, and we are prospectively looking at opening up KDF in May, I believe. There's a lot to unpack there. Runs of multiverse worlds variant that wasn't Kryptonian and is destined to be Azrael instead of Superman. Notable vigilante. Azrael. Azrael from what? Is that Bad Omens? Good Omens? Wait. Good Omens? No, that's a Aziraphale. I think. Maybe. Well, that's a way to make caster characters feel more swordish. Ooh. How do you grow a mustache? You let it grow. Oh, I'm not familiar with them in that context. How do you make a caster character more swordish? I mean, it's the obvious choice if they just cast with the sword, I suppose. You could make them posture up with their casting implement more swordish. Forgive me for this one, my dear, but I'm reminded of the wizard dueling in the Harry Potter movie. That specifically comes to mind. Which they never did anything. Yeah, I can combine it with an insult because they didn't do more with it. Shame on them. It's like one of the coolest things they introduce is like wizards fencing on a in a lane, right? It was literally just fencing with magic, and they blew it because they didn't do anything with it. Now I'm mad about that. Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, like rather give your wizard a wand and have them just like post up with a wand and be like pew 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 pew. Like yeah, that makes it more sword like. Yeah, just have them like duel with the yeah. Could a weed whacker be a good substitute for a spear? Probably not. I doubt it. Good luck. Do I get any movie? Do you get any movie offers either for cast? No, I've never gotten a movie offer. I have watched The Mask of Zorro. Yes, it's one of my favorite movies. I love The Mask of Zorro. Would greatswords ever beat spears in fighting the undead? I suppose they could. If you're really good with it, I suppose it probably has a higher skill. It has a higher skill floor and conceivably a higher skill ceiling. I don't think swords are very practical choices for the zombie apocalypse, no. The thing I stand by is if, depending on the zombie rules we're playing by, swords are very good at disabling people. I'm not even just saying, like, not even killing people, just, they're good at disabling people, first and foremost. You can cut a hand, not even cut it off, just put an inch deep cut into somebody's hand. Like an inch deep cut into the hand would be the inch deep cut into their arm. A good gash on their hand, like you disable their arm. They can no longer attack you with that arm. It is floppy now. Congrats. You poke a hole in them, they die. You cut them on the face, blood all over the eyes. They can't see. They probably are in a lot of pain. They're probably on the ground. They're going, disabled. Hamstring somebody, boom, they're on the ground. Disabled is the main thing. Playing by usual zombie rules, where the only thing that stops the zombie is like total sever of the spinal column thing, words, or catastrophic destruction of the brain. If those are the only two things that stop the zombie from coming at you, then all those disabling things that swords are really good at go out the window. And swords are also very good at being used to protect yourself. That's one of the huge benefits of a sword, is that it's one of the best weapons to protect your, like, physically, like defend your body with. It has a lot going from it from a defensive standpoint, from a improvised shield kind of mindset, which zombies Zombies don't sword fight you unless we're like in Castlevania or Skyrim. Then they sword fight you, and then the sword's important. But we're talking like zombies. They don't sword fight you. You don't need something that's good at defending yourself from sword fighters. So why do that? Rapier wouldn't be a very good zombie choice. Instead, don't waste your time with those. Get you something. Get you something that is just bang boom lights out. No ifs, ands, or buts. This noggin ka-ka-dunk. You don't need to fence anything. There's no fencing involved. Just hit them. Oh, chat is so fast. I can't even read any of them. I would love to read the comments, but I can't. Welcome, Kai, to the hatchlings. No, I don't think a weed whacker that's on is a good substitute for a spear. That just hurts. I don't think a weed whacker is capable of doing much more than like maybe it could take a finger. I guess it'd be really bad if it got you in the face. That'd be awful. It's more like I think a weed whacker would brutalize somebody very well, but I don't think it's a good substitute for a spear, which is like really hurt. Do I have a movie that's terrible from a historical perspective or that has terrible fencing that I love? Ooh, guilty pleasure movie. Let me think. Guilty pleasure movie. Nothing is coming to me right now. Because I've thought about saying Princess Bride, but I refuse to lump it into that category. I refuse to do that. I'm not going to do that to the Princess Bride. It's amazing. It's perfect in every way. It's good fencing. Don't realistic fencing, no, but it is a good fencing. Yes, it's very good. I have a salad in the background. They're your favorite helmet, but they look rather uncomfortable with the chin neck strap. Why would a chin strap be uncomfortable? I guess. I mean, you have a chin strap on quite a lot of helmets that don't enclose, it keeps it on. I don't find it particularly uncomfortable. That one actually doesn't even have a chin strap. That one's not particularly amazing or anything. It doesn't have anything on the interior, actually. It's completely bare metal on the inside. Now, the one that I would actually wear is there. That's a closed salad. That one has a chin strap. But I've never found chin straps particularly uncomfortable or anything. I mean, it's less comfortable than not having a chin strap on, but it's not a deal breaker for me by any means. It's honestly, in my opinion, it's more comfortable to have something secure. Like my Helldiver costume has a chin strap, and I find that the helmet is more comfortable for the fact that I have the chin strap, just because it keeps it stable. That matters. Could you mix a halberd and a greatsword by spear blade part at top? Like put an axe blade on the end of a greatsword? I don't think it would work very well. It's a structural concern for me. To have a blade is going to be kind of flexy to an extent. You can stiffen a blade, but the more you stiffen it, the more likely it is to take catastrophic bends. And if you're putting an axe blade, you're putting a lot of weight on the end of something that is either going to be flexy, so the weight of the axe blade is going to make the whole sword floppy, or it's going to be a very stiff sword, at which point you are running a very real risk of bending the sword every time you hit something with the axe. So I think they're structurally not very compatible. Oh no. My Mad Lad fighting style. How did that turn out? It's going okay. I ended up, so my Mad Lad fighting style video was talking about, I just wanted to take it was a halberd that had a butt spike and a heater shield to a melee. And my Mad Lad fighting plan was use the heater shield in my offhand, and then I was going to flip the halberd around and hold the halberd by basically right under the head, and use the halberd head as a pommel essentially, and fight with the butt spike. So I'd fight shield and spear essentially, and the idea was that I could at any point drop the shield and have it hang from a guige, turn the halberd around and fight with it, halberd in two hands. And it worked okay. Generally what would happen is I'd fight in the line with the other shield and spearmen, and I'd have my halberd. One issue that I ran into was that it's very hard in the press of a tight formation. It's hard to have room for the halberd. It was complicated to get the size of the head past the person next to me and like fight around them. And going from high to low just was not happening with the halberd. I was basically stuck. I had to basically pick if I was going to fight low or if I was going to fight high on the approach, because I would not have space to switch it otherwise. So that was a problem. And I think by the end of it, I just gave up entirely on fighting spear and shield, and I was just letting the shield hang from the guige, and I was fighting two-handed halberd with the shield just covering me passively over the shoulder. So you can imagine shield here, and I was just fighting in the line, basically this kind of movement here. Because I didn't have room to like switch it the other way, because then the shield bangs that way. So I was constrained basically to fighting either vertically or diagonally like this. I could not do strikes from that side very well. So I hope you like that. Pup named Leo. Thoughts on Dobringer's gloss of the Zettel? I like it. I like it. I'm always mixing up Dobringer and Danzig, D&D. I'm always mixing them up. I think I like Danzig more. Dobringer. Do I like Again, I can never keep them straight. I like Danzig or Dobringer more. Which one do I have? I know this. I have this. I bought it. Which one do I have? Who was it? Where are you? Where's my book? I have the book. Who is it? Not helpful. So this one isn't even either of them technically. Dobringer. Okay. Pseudo Dobringer. I actually really like pseudo Dobringer. I like the pseudo Dobringer quite a lot, because not so much the gloss per se, it's the fencing commentary that I like. Oh yeah, yeah. I actually really like pseudo Dobringer for the commentary. The actual plays, not so much. Some of them get weird. It seems like sometimes he's making stuff up. But I love the fencing commentary. It reads like an angry Reddit post sometimes. I love it. I wonder if I can find a good excerpt. Just an angry Reddit post. It's so good. Oh, Meiji Castle. When I went to Japan. Oh, I found it. I already found the angry Reddit rant. Oh, let's see here. This one feels like it comes from Meyer. Let's see. I'll go. When you want to cut or thrust at someone, it should be as if you tied a thread or cord to the point or edge of your sword and pulled or drew it towards his nearest exposure, because you should cut or thrust in the shortest and surest manner in the most decisive way. This is all you should want to do, because proper fencer doesn't have broad or elaborate parries, nor the wide fencing around by which people procrastinate and delay. You will still find many dancing masters claiming that they believe the art of the sword grows better and richer from day to day, and that they have conceived and created a new art. But I would like to see anyone who could invent and perform a legitimate striker play that falls outside of Lichtenauer's art. All they do is jumble and confuse the plays and then give them new names, each according to his own ideas, and they devise wide parries and often want to do 2 or 3 strikes in the place of a single one. They do this to be praised by the ignorant for the sheer liveliness of it, as they stand fiendishly and perform elaborate parries and wide fencing around, and, having no moderation in their fencing, they bring long and far-reaching strikes slowly and clumsily, and severely delay and overextend and expose themselves. This doesn't belong to earnest fencing, but only to play in fencing schools for exercise and entertainment. Earnest fencing goes swiftly and precisely without hesitation or delay, as if measured and balanced by a cord. Oh, just an angry Reddit rant. So good. I love Dobringer. Pseudo Dobringer. It's so good. Oh, thank you. I hope you enjoy it. Why do we stop using butt spiked spears? Because we stopped using spears, I guess. I don't know if there's really a cutoff point to butt spikes. But the value of a butt spike, like a spike, is there are reasonable reasons to not want it, because you're always sticking the ground. You might accidentally stab somebody's foot. Butt caps are useful. Whether or not it's a spike is, I think, a more particular question, and you don't have to have a spike to have an effective pointy bit on the end of a weapon. I really like the butt cap on here. I'm going to take this. The butt cap on my bill hook is particularly nice to me. There we go. Look at that. So it's a little pointy, but it's not a spike. It's got a nice little, I don't know what shape that is. But yeah, it's a little nubbin on the end. It's a little pointy. It's multifaceted. It's small. You don't want to get hit with that. But it's not pointy per se. It's not sharp pointy. It's just like normal pointy. Why are you? Am I being too loud for you to sleep, my dear? I assume I am. We're at 2 hours anyways. I can start to wrap it up. Sometimes for food. I usually sanitize first. So. The pata is interesting. I'll say that. I think it's cool. I don't think I'd get along with it. If anybody has noticed a common refrain in my videos is that I don't like my hand feeling trapped. And I don't think there's any sword that traps your hand more than a pata. Hate it. I don't like my hand feeling trapped. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. Arm Street. I think my wife's costume's from Arm Street. I don't want to say bad things about Arm Street, because you bought stuff already. I'm just going to say that people, the common consensus is that Arm Street is overpriced for what it is. But if you love it, then you love it. That's fine. You don't like, I don't want to rain on your parade. What's the worst I got hurt? Pinky. Look at that. See, pinky bend, pinky no bend. That's probably the worst injury I ever got. That I mangled my pinky. I broke it clean through. Both bone, full break, right. I wonder if I can still feel it. Yeah, there's the bump. Yeah, I had a clean break right here. Completely snapped the bone all the way through, and it no longer bends all the way. That's my worst injury. Yeah, I upgraded my gloves after that one. I've been in mittens ever since. No, I can't play guitar anymore because I never could. Never could play guitar. I've ever gotten concussed. Not that I know of. I think I've talked about it before in a short. Maybe I haven't. A weapon would I recommend for home defense? Baseball bat, a stick, something that might have a something that you have a reasonable basis to not have the home invader being able to claim that they were in defense of their life. It depends on the legality, right? It gets weird. It gets really weird. Yeah, mini. Oh wait. This is the perfect segue. I'm going to wrap the stream up soon, but I've had this thing sitting here this whole time. I haven't used it yet, and I had a whole point. Okay, best home defense weapon. Okay. Oh darn it, Spirit, you spoiled it. The best home defense weapon, as the founding fathers intended, is defended in our Second Amendment rights. The single best home defense weapon, just as the founding fathers intended. Yes, yeah. Notwithstanding that this thing's too big to actually use inside most houses. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. CQB musket. Yeah, this is my CQB musket. It's huge. It's so big. It's so good. Yeah. I usually don't have this thing down. The bayonet came in today, finally. I've been waiting years to have it. I've had this musket for like literal years. It's fell on the wall. I don't know how many of you have ever noticed. It's just been on the wall. It's usually too high, is the thing. The musket goes there above the montante. It's a little nubbin. It's lived there for years. It just sits up there. Everyone's always surprised that I have a gun. I don't know why. I have one. It's been there. It just hasn't had a hasn't had the bayonet. So I haven't used it in any videos because bayonet. I wanted the bayonet. Now I have a bayonet. So now, you know, I can do videos now. I'm waiting. 7%, around 7 foot. Yeah, something like that. Does it fire? Can I don't know if I can say yes or not. I'll say this. Not at the moment because it has no flint. I'll say that. Ugh. I don't have room enough to put it pointed the other way. No flint, see? See, no flint. It can't shoot. No other reason. Yeah. I do not have an armet. Oh, what model is it? It is. I mean, you could load it, sure. Yeah. There's no flint. This is a French 1717. I like French stuff. I have a Laguiole knife, the Laol, depending on where. Don't come after me about the Laguiole. People bought it from in France. It said Laguiole. It's a regional thing. Some places say Laol, some places say Laguiole. Both pronunciations are used in France. Lay off. This is a French 1717 infantry musket, also known as the Charleville. Fun fact: Benjamin Franklin bought a bunch of these for the Revolutionary War. It is the base. The Charleville is the basis for the first Springfield musket. How about that, huh? The very first U.S. Army firearm is a copy of a French one. Take that for you. Yeah. I mean, if you know your history, that's not surprising at all. Right? We'd be toast without the French. Yeah. The funny thing about muskets is, like, legally speaking, they're barely even firearms. The black powder for the musket is the harder thing to get your hands on, because black powder can be used to make bombs. So it's a little hard. It's a lot harder to come by black powder than it is to come by muskets. I don't actually have a beret. Beret is one of those things that I've always thought about getting, and I was like, eh. I don't have an armet. I don't have an armet. I've said it before, but I do not have an armet. I will do a video on musket bayonet technique, yes. Yeah. I am kind of dressed like Malcolm Reynolds, you're right. There are many swords behind me. You'll have to be more specific. I really like French weaponry. French stuff's good. I've never used a rope dart. I want a wheel lock pistol. That'd be nice. I prefer straight bladed. Thank you. I do need to work on this musket a little bit. Currently, something is not agreeing right now. You see the bayonet lug? It is not all the way on. Something is not agreeing here. That's something I have to work on. You can fix it with a file. I just have to figure out where it's catching. I don't know where it's catching though. I have to get like a Sharpie and like mark it up, see where it's snagging, see where I need to file. How much did the armor cost? Yeah, it could. Yeah, yeah. I'm not going to shave anything on the musket. The musket's way more expensive than the bayonet. Any file work I do is strictly going to be on the bayonet. I'm not putting a file to my musket. I do need to sight the musket at some point. So it's this kind of like good enough for now, because really you should sight the musket first, and because you have to like mess with the lug first. So I have to sight the musket, and then I have to fit the bayonet to the sighted lug and stuff. So I should do that. I should sight it first and then fix the bayonet. It's good enough for now. I'm gonna leave it like this until I sight it. I don't know the exact details, but I assume it's mostly something akin to you shoot it, you look where it hits, you get a consistent pattern, and then you shave a little until it's shooting level. I'm pretty sure most of the time they come with extra, and it shoots high, and then you shave it. You just shave it down until you can work it the right spot. But I don't take my word on it. That's my loose understanding. I am obviously going to read up how to do it properly whenever I do, and then have somebody else do it. I'll get somebody else to do it. That's what I'll do. Oh, I'm so sorry, Red Hood. I'm so sorry. You had so much more money before I happened. Ugh. How expensive is the musket? It was actually kind of like if you do swords, the price is not scary. If you do swords, the price is not scary. I think the musket was like 400. I think it was like 400 for the musket. I got this a while ago, so I don't know if the prices have changed. This was pre-COVID. Yeah, this is before pandemic. That's when I think. I don't. It's fuzzy because I ordered it like long before I ever got it. I had to wait a long time to get this. My friend, who does a lot of historical reenactment, said when it comes to muskets, you can have two of three things. It can either be a functional, it can either work, or rather, the three things are it can work, it can be cheap, or it can be fast. You only have two. So I went with the cheap and work. So I was content to wait the years it took to get this thing. But it's been I'm going to mind my words here. Let's just say it is not rust on the pan there. Getting your first longsword delivered in a couple days. Oh, exciting! Very exciting for you. What did you get, BC? Was it a Regaigne? Get a Siggy? What'd you get? Where could you get something like your trench coat in the UK? I mean, there's London fog. Right? Blueberry, bull. What's the word? Somebody. Bursberry. Yeah, right? Bursberry. Maybe. I stream whenever the whim catches me. Oh dear, I've made a mistake. I scrolled up. Conway Tinker. Oh, that's fun. That's fun. Valid. Okay, for the benefit of my wife, I'm going to try to wrap things up. Yeah, I guess I'd agree with the bill hook and halberd being the Swiss. Oh, maybe not. No. Actually, I don't think I agree with you. No. Polex. Polexes. Why? Because it has a more tool. It has more tool. It has all the tools of a halberd plus a smashy bit. That's one more tool. I really like Yatigans. I think they are a beautiful sword. They're my favorite blade shape. That's why I like the Lagiol, because it has a Yatigan blade. I love Yatigans. I looked for nobody makes them. I don't know. Somebody find me a Yatigan, please. I want one. I really want a Yatigan. I can't find them. A Yatigan. Somebody give me a Yatigan. Eat it. Like my number one favorite single-edged sword. Oh, I love them. Where do I buy the high-waisted pants? Thrift stores. Thrift stores. Unfortunately, it's a location-dependent thing. I got lucky. I went to, this isn't one even local. I picked these up at a thrift store over in Charlotte. Thrift stores. Do I use a microphone when filming shorts? Yes, this is my new one. I broke my last one. Oops. Besides cloaks and sashes, which clothing? Oh, I'm sorry, I keep getting distracted. I meant to wrap the stream up, but the questions are fun. What clothing items need to come back? Hats. Hats. I feel like hats. Yeah, hats. You know what? Yeah, I'm saying hats. I'm sticking with hats. Maybe you might be like, oh no, hats still around. People still wear hats. Have you seen hats that people wear these days? I mean, come on. Ball cap ain't it. I want like good hats. I'm not even talking about fedoras and like Hornbergs and Panamas. I mean, those are good hats too. But I mean, like, I want good hats back. I want everyone rocking hats. That's what I want. Yeah, Lucerns are cool. I don't really have any particular thoughts on Lucerns. They're cool. I like them. They can be very pretty. I think that's my favorite quality about Lucerns is that they are at their heart hammers on sticks. Like there's nothing elegant about the concept, right? It's a hammer on a stick with a pointy bit. It's conceptually as brutal as it gets. Like when you think about just like pure just primal brutal violence is like monkey with rock, right? Like this is monkey with rock on a stick. That's what a lucerne is, and yet it takes that monkey with a rock on a stick concept and then makes it into something beautiful. Like what? It is a existing contradiction. Oh, people keep asking me questions. Why doesn't dual wielding swords work in actual fights? It does. I don't want to go into a deep dive. It does. It does work. Actually, it does work. There's a really funny graphic of like the dual wielding swords like rabbit hole thing, or like the iceberg or something. It's like what is it like? Cosmic. It was I think it was the cosmic brain meme. Like dual wielding swords are cool. Nobody dual wielding swords is not cool. It's not real. Well, it is real, but it's it's very niche. And then the last one is like dual wielding swords is cool. It's yeah. No, dual wielding swords does work. It does work. Good question. I'm gonna leave it at this. Why don't you dual wield swords more? Because this is what I always say. To dual wield swords, you need to have several conditions be met. One, you have to know how to do it. Dual wielding swords when you don't know what you're doing is a bad idea. That already it cuts out like almost everybody. So you have to know how to do it. 2, you need to be in a situation where your second hand isn't better used on a bigger weapon or on a shield. That cuts out almost every other situation. That's those 2 right there. You need to know how to do it, and you need to have a reason to use a sword and not a shield or a larger weapon. Most of the times, those 2 knock everything else out. Third one is you need to be in a situation where it is socially acceptable to have a second sword. 1 sword, reasonable self-defense. Maybe, might not even be that. The sword might not be considered reasonable. A dagger, you might be in a place where a dagger is considered reasonable, but a sword is not. You might be in a place where a sword is considered reasonable, but a second sword is not. So those are the 3 conditions that have to be met. Know how to use it, not have a reason to use a shield or a polearm, and it's okay for you to have a second sword in the first place. So there you go. That's why it's not done more. I took too long on that. The volume is low because I'm trying to be quiet for my wife. She's trying to sleep. And I'm trying to wrap it up. Oh wait, she posted a comment. I think she's still awake. What time is it? It's almost 11. Okay, I'm gonna apologize right now. I'm gonna just scroll to the very bottom of all the comments. I'm so sorry. There were so many. She is in fact awake. Are you laughing up there? Did I hear a laugh? uh, yeah, the streams have been getting a lot better. I really should wrap the stream though. It's a 1717 French infantry musket. Oh yeah, okay. I'll dig into scholar rooms, see if I can track it down because I really want to get again. I have an open L. I don't think it's a number 12. Oh, I have an open L 8. I don't know. I don't remember off the top of my head where I got the Navaja. It is just go to one of the videos and there's a link. I think I put the link in almost all of them. If it's not in that video, go to the next one. Just it is. I guarantee you, one. I know for a fact that at least one of the videos I've done on the Navaja has a link to buy it. It's not an affiliate link or anything. It's just where I personally bought it. Yes, you should get the Salsa Beaver guy. I like it. It's fun. It was a fun build. You should get it. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna cut off here. Okay. Last question I'm gonna answer. I'm cutting it off. Full stop. I'm not looking at you all. This is a Kriegsmesser. Kriegsmesser. It is a war knife. Okay, there we go. Answer the last question. I'm not looking at you all. All right. Yes, I'm gonna. Okay. All right. Good night. Good night, everybody. Bye.